Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 here to talk SEC basketball coaching hires, as we've been doing a whole lot lately. Two more over the weekend, Blake. Chris Jans at Mississippi State, who comes to Starkville from New Mexico State after the Aggies won a first-round tournament game. Also, you were his agent, Dennis Gates, coming to Columbia, Missouri as the Tigers' new coach. But let's start in Starkville with Chris Jans. I know you think that's a good hire. I do too. I think that he recruits JUCO heavily, is very well connected there. That has been a path to recruiting that Mississippi State has taken often. Jans has won a lot, and I think that's a good fit.
Yeah, I think we had mentioned before I had heard Chris Jans connected to Mississippi State even a couple of years ago, and that's not necessarily from either party, just from someone who's like, hey, if they eventually make a move, which we didn't know if they were going to do that, we didn't think that was going to happen with Howland, a couple of years ago or anything, but that was always a name I've heard for a couple of years now that it would just make a lot of sense for them. So, yeah, now he is the coach there officially. And, I mean, look, it's a guy that in terms of the winning and everything, I mean, he had 5 seasons in New Mexico State, and, you throw out the season that just was, that we could probably throw out for a lot of schools around the country, right, based on the circumstances, 2021. They went 12-8 that year, but remember, I mean, they played 20 games, and that was kind of a wild setup they had. But other than that, other 4 seasons, 25 or more wins, gets to the NCAA tournament every single time. Again, minus the one that was canceled. But yeah, I mean, this guy just he knows how to win, and I think that when you kind of look at it, and yes, I know that it will be mentioned a lot about what happened at the Bowling Green stop and everything that kind of played out there, and what led to kind of again just everything that went along with it. That was 2015, but now where things stand, I think it was clear that for Mississippi State that was a choice that was very appealing, just based on I think his coaching style and just understanding that he is a very good basketball coach, and I think that that's a hard job, as we've said before. I think it will be a challenge, but I do think he's someone that from the start probably felt like a great fit in terms of what you think for maybe where the Mississippi State program is at right now, and needing to try to get out of that middle to try to make that climb up. So,
is the JUCO assumption a faulty one, or was that just a product of being at New Mexico State?
See, I think that's always interesting because people are going to say the same thing about Dennis Gates, and we'll get to that in a second, but you have to build programs differently. And I think that's where sometimes people are so, when you see a mid-major coach hired at the power conference level, that's one of the first knocks you hear is, well, he only built his program on JUCO. You can't do that in the SEC. I mean, I think sometimes that can be a little bit overplayed, because it's really just a matter of, can you get players, right? I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to. Can you get the players you need to win? And I think it's harder to go the other route now, because remember, we've talked about this. Think about how much of a big impact the transfer portal has now, where is New Mexico State necessarily getting all the Division I transfers coming from power conferences? Unlike some of these other schools that are able to go out and get all these guys, it's a harder sell. So you have to figure out ways to build your program in ways that other teams are not doing it. Because again, think about that, right? If I'm New Mexico State, I'm trying to figure out the quickest path to success. Is it going to be necessarily through just recruiting freshmen? Is it going to be through trying to get the same transfers that, all the Pac-12 schools geographically close to me are trying to get? That's a harder thing to do. So I think to me, it was probably more of, this is a guy that has a background at the junior college level. He's coached there before. I think it's one of those things where so well connected, and that was the easiest path for him to be successful at New Mexico State. And I think that's what it comes down to. You do what you have to do to be successful where you are, not necessarily compare it to what is everyone else doing. It's just, for our situation, what's the best path to do that? And I think that was the best route for him to be able to have success in New Mexico State.
Well, like I've never been to Las Cruces, and New Mexico can be a beautiful state in parts, but I mean, I would think that would be a hard place to recruit to.
Right, and I mean that's what again that's why you have to find different ways. I mean, innovative ways to try to build it. And Mexico State, as we've said, that's always been a program that's had high expectations because they have had success. And I think it's one where again they're just like New Mexico, right? New Mexico State, those are programs that want to win. They love basketball and they want to win. And he just came in and found the right formula to be able to do that. So I think any coach understands that there are differences. If you are coaching in New Mexico State or now if you're coaching at Mississippi State, there are going to be differences in how you have to approach it. But it also, to me, it opens up a lot more opportunities too, because we mentioned it, NIL, all this other stuff. Like there's a lot more things you can do now, and just having the pull of being at an SEC school with many more resources, many more things to be able to recruit to. I just think that's more of a yes, he may have did it one way here, but I don't think that's necessarily saying he couldn't do it a different way somewhere else just because the situations are completely different. So
Chance is what, 52, give or take a year?
52, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I mean, he's been everywhere, and that's what said. It's, assistant, obviously most notably, I think, under Greg Marshall. That's probably the one most people probably know it for. He was there for I think 7 or 8 years, mid 2000s but then he came back as a special assistant after what happened at Bowling Green, and then yeah. But look, I mean, 4-time WAC regular season champion, 3-time WAC tournament champion, 3-time WAC coach of the year. They win a tournament game this year, so I know the WAC has changed a bit, but I always say it's like okay. What do you want him? What do you want to say? Like, he's only doing it in the WAC. All right. Well, do you want him to be in the middle of the MAC or at the top of the MAC? Because it's like you got right. Isn't that like such a silly discussion I see people
Yeah.
have sometimes? It's like, oh well, he's only having success in the WAC. All right. Well, I don't know. Would you rather him be the most successful coach in the WAC? Or would you rather him be in the middle? I guess he picked the one at the top. So it's just kind of.
Well,
I get it, but
he got. I'm presuming that connection with Wichita State is how he got Teddy Allen, who's a phenomenal player.
yeah, I mean, we saw that in the tournament for sure.
Yeah,
so,
he's tremendous.
yeah.
Anything else
I
on
just
State? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's to me it fits, right? And it's one of those where look, and we're going to say this right now and we've said it about the other hires. Doesn't matter who it is. There's always a risk involved. There's no such thing as a sure thing. I'm sorry. There's no one in my opinion outside of maybe a select group that is a sure thing in any situation. So I think there's obviously things you're going to look at and say, well, I'm a little hesitant about this, but I think if you're a Mississippi State fan, on paper, which is all we have to go by entering these things, no one knows how it's going to play out at this very moment. On paper, to me, it looks like a nice fit.
Okay, Missouri.
All right,
Should we just let you get? Let me get you get your rant over way, and I'll get out of the way.
I was going to prepare a statement. I really was. I thought about preparing as a written statement. I'm just going to sit here and read it this entire way, but I didn't get time to do that because I was too busy arguing with Missouri fans on Twitter. But there you go. Adios. See you later. Out of here. Yeah, listen, Missouri fans. I don't think we have a lot that watch our stuff yet.
I'm sorry, sure. I had the audio off. I was saying I'm not going to put it on, but that's for a select few Missouri fans. Just in case you missed it the first time.
Let me just say, I don't want to put this on all Missouri fans because I don't think it's everyone. But boy, do I have a lot to say to them. Let me start off by saying this. Here comes a shocker, right? I think Dennis Gates is a great hire for Missouri. Tremendous hire for Missouri. And I'm not doing that just because I am.
It's not just because you're his agent.
You know what's funny is that there's going to be some people who maybe don't get sarcasm that have watched some of our videos and actually think that I'm Dennis Gates' agent. But that's all right. Here's the deal, all right? I've said it many times. Dennis Gates was someone that was – how many jobs has Dennis Gates been connected to? And let me just say right now, it's not because it's just an agent thing. I've heard that too. Well, the only reason LSU, South Carolina, Georgia, Missouri were interested in Dennis Gates is because his agent floated his name out there. No, that's not true. Okay. It's not true that that's the only reason that 4 SEC schools were interested in this guy. I can tell you without hesitation, there were multiple SEC schools that had interest in Dennis Gates.
And you would know.
And now, the fact is, he's going to be the head coach at Missouri. And for everyone out there who is pushing for the Missouri AD to be fired, for the Missouri board to overthrow this Game of Thrones style, sit
Greg
this one out.
Schiano.
Sit this one out, okay?
Where's Clay Travis? Have we checked on Clay Travis?
This is ridiculous to go this route over a coach that is a very good coach. Like, I just don't even know what to say, man. And again, I realize, and we're having some fun here, that this is a very, I always say, Twitter is not real life. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not. Like, I don't know what goes on Twitter, but it's not real life most of the time. So it is one of those where it's a very small, select group of people who have gone this route. And to be honest, like, even if it wasn't Dennis Gates, but you're going to get a little bit more enthusiasm from me because it is. If you replace Dennis Gates with other names and I see some of just the pure nonsense out there, it has to be called out, okay? One of the things I've heard about Dennis Gates being the wrong fit is that Dennis Gates is Conzo Martin 2.0. Please stop doing this stuff. You're making yourself look silly right now. Don't do it. I need the Michael Jordan meme right now where it's the Jordan one where it's like, stop, get some help. It's one of those things like, don't do it. Because it's funny to me because like we talk about the comparisons that are made, right? And it's okay. Well, Dennis Gates is clearly the next Conzo because he comes in with these attributes. He's considered a good leader. Wow, terrible attribute to have as a head coach. All right, there's strike number 1 on Dennis Gates. He is considered very detailed. His teams love to play hard-nosed grind defense that just in your face. 3 terrible attributes. I don't know how this guy was on anybody's radar at this point. And then it's like, okay, well, his offense at Cleveland State was not great. I don't even know how to respond to that. For the record, Dennis Gates took over one of the biggest dumpster fires that we have seen in college basketball in probably the last decade. I am not saying that to exaggerate. You know this, Chris.
Dennis
when he
Felton,
took over
thank
that
you very
job,
much.
That program was destroyed. Pure on destruction. Like
Godless Dennis
Felton. No
Felton.
other way to put it. Let me just tell you. I talked to Dennis Gates. I want to say it was 3 days after he got the Cleveland State job. Do you want to know how many players he had on the roster officially, Chris? 3. He had 3 guys on the roster. And guess what? Some of those guys were about to transfer too, just like everyone else in the program had transferred. All right? Yet, he's able to re-recruit some of those guys, bring them back, and basically build his entire roster in a span of a week. You know why he was able to do that? Because Dennis Gates is a very well-connected coach. He is very, very well-connected when it comes to the JUCO scene because of all the years he spent at Florida State with Leonard Hamilton. He was able to go just find the right guys to fit because that program at that point, it wasn't even really about finding the right guys. They had to field the team, and he was able to do that. So I still would say this, Chris. He took over a complete mess. All right, let's figure that out right now. Mess. But you know what I'm hearing from certain fans? You know what I'm hearing? Guess what? Dennis Gates' record at Cleveland State? Oh, it's only like, what is it? 51 and 40 or something like that, I think. He's only 51 and 40. Okay. Well, he went 11 and 21 in the first year with a team that did not have a roster about 5 months prior. So if you want to take some of those losses away, take away the 21 in the first year, because I think anyone getting to 11 wins, was he not coach of the year for getting even to 11 wins? I mean, stunning, truly stunning. And then I got more. Don't worry, folks. I got a whole list here. Everybody better buckle in, get your bags, your zero bars, corn nuts, because we got a lot more to go. So then
I
let's
may
point
step
this
away to
out.
run some errands.
By the way, I'll tell you guys, this is part like bit, but part truth. Like I am really, we're trying to have some fun with this, but I truly mean everything I say here. It's just we're trying to do this in entertaining ways to keep you guys engaged. But um, I'm also getting the thing from people on Twitter. Dennis Gates is only, are you ready for this, Chris? Dennis Gates is only 1-20 as a coach against Ken Palm top 150 teams. Why isn't he just retired? Like, why is he coaching? Because at Cleveland State in the Horizon League, he only went 1-20 against Ken Palm 150 teams. I love me some Ken Palm, but you guys are out of control when it comes to this.
No,
we're just citing.
Is it true that
Oh,
Conzo Martin had two
oh,
eyes, a heartbeat, 2 legs, and 2 arms, and so does Dennis Gates? Can you confirm?
yes.
Well, that settles
Oh
it.
my God, what are we doing here right now? Oh,
Okay, to be fair, that's a point. Okay, we have not established he can beat, but it is a
come on.
it is a different situation.
Apples
And like you said,
oranges, man.
okay, you let's add some context. You talked to Dennis Gates when he got that job at Cleveland State. He literally went from 3 people on the roster to a full team in a matter of a week because of connections. Is this not true?
Yes, 100% accurate.
And then won 11
Oh,
games.
11 games.
When did he take
miracle.
over that? Okay, when did he take over that job? What month was
He
it?
got the job the last day of July or something.
Okay, and see that is different than taking the job in March or April
Yes.
because everybody is settled where they are.
Yes.
Your options in July are not good. Your options in July are not great if you're Kentucky. They're really not great if you're Cleveland State.
Yeah. It's just, again, I'm having some fun with this. Everybody, if you watched our videos before, you know I'm not just pulling this out of thin air. You knew this was coming as soon as there was a hire made with Dennis Gates. We've been setting this up for a month now. But I want to point that out because I do think there are a lot of Missouri fans who are starting to come around on this. And as I said with Chris Jans, as I said with Todd Golden, as I said with whoever else has been hired in this league, I can't keep up anymore. There are no such things as a guarantee. There is no guarantee that Dennis Gates is going to have success at Missouri. None. No guarantee at all. But for the uninformed people who have said they don't think it's a good hire, and in fact, it's a bad hire because they've had to Google who Dennis Gates is. They've actually had to put some effort into researching who this head coach is who has just won the Horizon League 2 times. I don't know that says a lot more about Dennis Gates than it perhaps does the people who are having to Google Dennis Gates.
Are you trying to tell me that a head coach at Cleveland State would not be a household name?
Stunned. Truly stunned. And again, I want to reiterate, this is not a large percentage of the fan base. This is a very small percentage, but this is when we have to have our fun with it. I just think I think he's a really good coach. I've told you, this is not me saying this. This is talking to other people in the profession who are very well respected, who think that this guy is one of the top up-and-coming coaches in all of college basketball, period. And think that he has everything you need to be a superstar coach. But because, it wasn't Kim English, which, by the way, I understand. Like, I want to make that very clear. I understand why Missouri fans wanted Kim English.
Very popular.
Because he is one of their own. And here's what I've seen a lot. And this is, again, if we're going to hire a guy that's going to come in and fail, why not just take Kim English? I'd rather lose watching him coach. Well, first of all, you don't know that Dennis Gates is going to lose. So that's the first problem you have when you started that argument. The second one is winning. It's I don't care who it is. And this is what I heard as well on this job. We didn't make a splash hire. No one cares about a splash hire if you win. It doesn't matter. Let me ask you this question, Chris. Serious question here. Would you
Hey,
rather?
my phone's ringing. This is John Gruden. Can I take this call?
Would you rather have a splash hire that loses or a hire that you have to Google who perhaps wins?
Well, Googling takes 10 seconds of your time.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
It's a
So
lot of work.
Kim English is 33. I think Kim English is also one of those guys that's going to be one of the up and comers that you're going to hear a lot about over the next couple of years. I also know that Kim English is 33 and he's been at George Mason for one season. And even though he is well connected, I think he's a good recruiter. We know that. Was with Rick Barnes. A lot of things to like about Kim English. But I also think that at this very moment, I don't know that that was the best fit for both parties. Because if you're Kim English and you go in to your dream job, I would say, like, I mean, that's the place you played, a lot of success as a player, and you go in at 33 with not a lot of experience and you don't have success, then what happens, right? It's like, then your own start turning on you. And I'm not saying, there's risk involved with anything, but I think to me, this felt like one, if they were going to hire Kim English, I think it would have made more sense to do it in 2 years from now versus
Okay.
right this second.
Can I make an observation? And I
Sure.
promise I have nothing against Missouri. We're not picking on Missouri. Do you remember when we did our Seinfeld video on SEC teams?
Oh, I remember.
Do you remember who Missouri was?
I do not. I'll be honest with you.
Mickey, what was his name?
Mickey,
Yeah,
I don't know what
that guy.
was it? Yeah, the stand-in. It's the only one I remember. He's the
little on the short side.
Mickey.
Mickey was always in a cranky mood. I think that some of this is Missouri fans have just been in a bad mood for years. It's not really gone well in football, although maybe there's some hope. Basketball, I mean, really starting with basketball, it has been a bad run for them. I mean, this is the lowest low for Missouri in God knows when. The Kim Anderson hire was a terrible one. Conzo made them respectable, but not what they're used to. I think sometimes when a fan base is just mad, everything gets received a little differently. I think that they've lost trust in their school. I got a feeling they didn't trust the board of trust on things. Missouri fans are watching. You're closer to your program than I am, but that's just an observation I have from the outside. And I do wonder if it's going better for them if this isn't received a little differently.
Oh, and I think you make a really good point there. That's why I think you can root for the splash hire just because you want to feel something, right? You just want you want that big name so you can look out and say, hey, look what we did, right? Like we went out and got Sean Miller, which I've seen that other, people, of course, he's Xavier.
And by the
now,
way, every fan base is guilty of that to some degree.
Sure.
We're not picking on Missouri. We are just calling it for what we see it in this spot.
Sure. I think that's why, and look, as I said, it's a select few, but I think sometimes that select few really tries to overwhelm everything. And we know that, yelling and screaming on social media can sometimes attract a crowd. And I think that it is one of those things where the stuff just cannot sit there and act like this is reasonable to think that Dennis Gates was just this unwanted coach that no one else wanted to touch. And yet somehow we just wound up with him. Not that we hired the guy that we wanted. We just happened to wind up with a guy who I think that's looking at it completely wrong. As I said, there's no guarantee that this guy will be successful because he's playing in a very tough league from a coaching standpoint. But as we've seen now, it's a league that's going through some changes coaching wise. And Todd Golden's got the same challenge Dennis Gates does. Jans has the same challenge. Like all these guys that are coming in new, they got the same challenge Dennis Gates is. But I am of the opinion that he is competent enough to be able to understand that and is well connected enough, is a good enough basketball coach, is a good enough leader. All those different aspects. I told you, I think he has the it factor. I think he has the intangibles, all those things. Yes, Cleveland State is different from Missouri, although I don't think some people understand that. I think some people use that against him versus for him. But what it's like, what else do you do? I mean, this guy is getting his first head coaching opportunity at Cleveland State. What's he supposed to do? Say, "Oh, sorry, I'm going to turn down jobs because I've been successful in the Horizon League, but you know what? It's the Horizon League, so I don't really think that I should go test my talents anywhere else." Come on, man! Like, it's just, it's one of those Missouri. If you're not, I don't know.
Hey,
It's like,
I know an SEC coach who started in the Horizon League. Can you think of who I'm thinking of?
yes, if it'd be a better discussion today, I suppose. It'd be a lot more positive momentum for him if they had won on Sunday. But yes, it's I I
Bruce
just think
Pearl,
that,
in case you
yes,
didn't
right.
follow
I was
us
going to say,
along.
I think a lot of
Who
people.
won not big at not one but two SEC schools.
Yeah, well, it's yeah, I think it's one of those where there's always going to be some risk because I think Missouri's group of candidates was going to be those guys, all those guys we mentioned, right? It was going to be English, Golden, McMahon, Gates. Like, those are the names we said from the start of these coaching hires. So look, if you're going to hear some names, here they are. You're going to hear all of them, and that's what's happened. South Carolina may hire one of Matt McMahon. Who knows? LSU may hire Matt McMahon. We saw that report come out yesterday. Maybe it's Matt McMahon to LSU. We'll see. But it's an off season of change in the SEC, and I will tell you right now that I think that Dennis Gates is one of the better hires because I think that he is just, I've seen it firsthand. I've talked to this guy quite a bit and you know how extensive our blue ribbon stuff is that we do for these team previews. Extensive conversations to really get some insight into that. And sometimes you just know when a guy has those things that you need to be successful. And I think that that's going to give him an opportunity to have success in Missouri. I'm not going to say that it's going to 100% guaranteed because there's no way we can say that. But I'm also not going to sit back and be one of the people that says right off the bat, this is a terrible hire, when in fact it is not. And we will see if it works out, but it's not a terrible hire. I would be stunned on every level if that winds up to be the case.
Okay, I want to go through, and this is off the top of my head, so I'm sorry for doing this to you, but you're pretty smart. I think we'll keep up. I'm going to go through every SEC basketball coach and where they got their head coaching start. Bruce Pearl started at Southern Indiana, and then Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. LSU has a vacancy. Tennessee, Rick Barnes, did he start at Providence? Or was it Clemson?
Boy, this is going to be.
I think it was Providence to Clemson.
Yeah, it's going to be a harder challenge.
Calipari started at UMass.
Oates Barnes started at George Mason, didn't he?
Okay, that's been a long time.
Yeah, Barnes was George Mason, 97 or 98, 87, 88. Yeah.
Cal started at UMass.
You're testing my knowledge here.
Sorry. Okay. Well, we're going to be close. Nate Oates started at Buffalo. State just hired Jan, so we won't go there. Florida just hired the coach from San Francisco.
Yeah.
Buzz Williams started.
That's a good one. I got to look that one up. I don't remember where Buzz.
Okay, you looked that one up. Jerry Stackhouse, this is his first college job. South Carolina's open. Kermit Davis started at, where was he before Middle Tennessee State?
Boy, this is talk about a test of Idaho.
Okay.
Wasn't he?
I think that's correct.
Yeah. Pretty sure
and
he was
then
at
Georgia, Mike White got his start at Louisiana Tech? Or was he somewhere before that?
Pretty sure it's Louisiana Tech.
I think it was Tech. But the point in this is all these guys started at a level like that. Now, you can argue that some of them may have had a peg between here and there, and I get that. Maybe that's a fair defense. But all these guys started somewhere. All of them rose to careers of prominence. And most of them started somewhere just like Cleveland State, on that level.
You ready for me to cap off this conversation with what you just said? Because think about the Think about who got let go in the SEC this year. Frank Martin, power conference to power conference. Tom Crean, power conference to power conference. Who else am I forgetting? I can't even keep up anymore. I am
Okay. Let's look at coaches
overloaded.
that failed. Auburn before Bruce Pearl. That was the guy that was at UTEP.
Conzo Martin, power conference to power conference.
Right. Kentucky before this. That was good grief. The guy that was at A&M. I've already forgotten his name. Billy Gillespie. Yeah. Power conference to power conference. Alabama went NBA before that. No, Alabama or Anthony Grant.
Well, yeah.
Before that. Up and comer. I mean, I guess that's a little more like, but point is, a lot of these coaches, that's a great point. I hadn't thought of it that way.
My point is, there's no guarantee. If you hire a power conference coach from a power conference, there's no guarantee that's going to work either. So that, I think, is what we should really look at here is, I think because we saw that round of those kind of hires, I think people are now expecting that to be the case every time.
Yeah.
Or you can do what Alabama did. You can do what Arkansas did and go get what, Chris? The hottest names on the mid-major circuit. That's what we're doing here. Like, we're doing the same thing again. And like I'm saying, there's no guarantee it's going to work. But now listen, did Dennis Gates or any of these other guys have a run like Muss had at Nevada?
No.
Did they have a run that Oates made in the tournament with Buffalo? No. But isn't that a pretty select group to where there's not a lot of guys that had that either? So there's not a lot of guys out there. I mean, you're not hiring Shaheen Holloway. He's going to probably Seton Hall, right? I mean, he's made a great run with St. Peter's. There you go. But where else is that list of guys that are going to necessarily fit that mold? So you're doing the same thing here, just to a different extent. So I just think that's what you got to remember. It doesn't matter if it's Frank Martin. It doesn't matter if it's Ben Howland. It doesn't matter if it's Dennis Gates. It doesn't matter if it's Chris Jans, and on and on and on. There is risk involved no matter who you hire. But you make the best choice you can, and you make the most well-informed choice you can. And I think information is the one that I have an issue with when it comes to Missouri fans who are knocking Dennis Gates as a nobody, when in fact, that is not true. And there are plenty of people out there that will tell you something completely different. And I tend to look at the coaching front. Yes, coaches will stick up for coaches, but there are also some coaches, and I've talked to them, who will tell you like it is. And when I hear the things from them about Dennis Gates that are extremely positive and optimistic, I tend to value that a bit more than an opinion that either has already been made up. I think there are already fans who have made up their mind that they don't like Dennis Gates, and he hasn't coached a single game yet. He hasn't even been officially hired. And I think that's a slippery slope to go down, because I think you set yourself up for failure in that scenario no matter what. So
I think we need to start a Blake Lovell burner Twitter account.
Oh, they're out there. Don't worry.
Because it could be fascinating with the stuff that you get.
They are out there. And, it could, because I get a lot of stuff. I just don't like to say a lot because I don't go that route. So a lot of stuff out there would be on that burner account. So, yeah.
Parting thoughts.
All right. I'm done with my rant. I know some people won't enjoy it. Some people will, perhaps, but it's fine. Logic over emotion. Data over emotion. Fact over emotion. Always. So there you go.
We still got a couple of vacancy or two. Before I get that, wager on sports, win FTs without risking any money. Sounds too good to be true, but it's not. Stakes is a wagering app that's casual, social, made for all sports fans. Whether it's by yourself or with friends, experience the thrill of sports betting without needing to worry about losing your hard-earned money. Sign up, use our code Southeastern14. Join the thousands of other sports fans playing with Stakes. That's Stakes. Get it in the App Store. You will thank me for that later. Also, The madness has officially begun. It's time for you to shoot your shot, score big on the nonstop action with MyBookie. It doesn't matter whether you're filling out multiple brackets, betting the national championship winner, or simply looking for player and game props. MyBookie has you covered. Sign up today at MyBookie. Use promo code Southeastern to secure a first deposit bonus up to $1,000. It is simple. Put in $200, play with $300. Just use promo code Southeastern to claim your bonus. College ball, NBA, UFC. No matter the sport, no matter the minute, MyBookie puts the action in your hands with live in-game betting, and choose from thousands of lines and odds so you can turn any game day into payday. Bet anything, bet anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. We appreciate our two partners there for March Madness. Okay, Blake, LSU still open, South Carolina are still open, though probably not for long. Any idea where those settle?
Matt McMahon at LSU seems likely.
I
don't love that for Matt McMahon. Not a knock on any LSU fans, but I just think there are so many unknowns there.
The LSU job, go back and look at their records. That is the biggest roller coaster in SEC basketball. You can literally see them going 2-16 one year, 16-2 the next, and then back to 2-16. It has been that way for a long time. I think, Matt McMahon is going to have good opportunities. I don't know if that's where I start.
I think he could probably wait for a more sure situation, but I also think it's here's my thing is I think LSU will pay the amount they need to convince someone, and they'll have to I don't want to say overpay as in he's not worth it, but I think they'll have to pay more money than maybe they would want to, because they're not going to be able to give anyone a guarantee right now that they are going to be sitting out of the NCAA tournament perhaps for multiple seasons. Because realistically, I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, should be.
And so, but look, that goes two ways. You know that going in, and maybe you're like, hey, I have no pressure on me. I have a great paycheck coming in, and I'm in the SEC now. And I know that I've pretty much got a couple years to mold things the way I want, and I don't have the pressure of having to come in and win right away, because I think there will be an expectation that, if we're not going to the tournament, if we have all these limitations, it's a big challenge. So I think you have someone that has to be ready for that. But I say that all to say this, Chris. I think that it's probably going to come down to Matt McMahon at South Carolina or LSU, and I think a domino falls one way or the other depending on which one he chooses. Because I think South Carolina is going to have some interest there, if they don't already. I think that South Carolina will at least try to make a move.
Which would you take right now if you were him?
Oh, now see, that's a tough call. Because
it is, because Carolina is a tough job. LSU got some built-in excuses for a while if it doesn't go well.
LSU's the better job long-term. Short-term, I mean, I think you could still. Look, South Carolina, I've said this before. Anyone who watches it, I think South Carolina is a very tough job. I think it's one of the toughest jobs in the SEC for different reasons. I think LSU will pay more. I don't know if that winds up being the difference. Maybe it is the sanctions, but I think that's
I would be shocked if LSU didn't pay more.
Yeah, I was gonna say LSU's gonna pay more, but it's you're weighing the positives and negatives here. So
if there's a school that will throw money at things quickly to fix them, good or bad, it is LSU.
100%. So I think that's it. Because I think if he chooses LSU over South Carolina, if you're South Carolina, you better take a hard look in the mirror. Because, like I said, I think there were other guys that are interested. And for whatever reason, I don't know. I think it could be, if Matt McMahon goes to LSU, knowing that, again, I am fairly certain that they are interested, if not having already had some sort of contact and interview with Matt McMahon in South Carolina. I think South Carolina would be in a very interesting situation, and I don't say interesting as in an enviable one. I think it would be I'm not sure where they go after that. So, because remember, Sean Miller reportedly was he was their top target. That's clear at this point. But he chose Xavier over South Carolina. So, not sure what that would say about the Gamecocks if that happens.
Well, Xavier also was a place he'd been. So
True,
and also a place that's won a lot in basketball. Xavier's a top 25 job, I think, don't you? Given its history?
It's a good job, yeah. It's a good job.
I mean, Xavier had quite a run there of NCAA tournament appearances and Sweet 16s. I mean, it was really impressive for a, upper major. Well, I mean, it's not a Power 5 job, but it's just outside that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. South Carolina's going to be interesting because I think it just looks like the way things are leaning now. I wouldn't be surprised if McMahon takes LSU, and yeah, so we'll see. We'll see.
Are we done?
Coaching hires. Yeah. I'd like to talk about Dennis Gates for a few more minutes.
Grab your zero bars and your corn nuts.
I'm just kidding. Look, I know a lot of people, who are watching this. Well, there's probably gonna be some Missouri fans coming in, and I think your guys are great. Again, it's always a few that just don't use rational thoughts on some of this stuff. So
you guys have really hit Blake's sore spot with this.
Plenty out there on Google if you would like to look up research and look up.
Doesn't take much time.
A lot of stuff out there. Google's got a few websites from what I hear. So there you go.
Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. We'll see you again soon.